Good morning if you are in Minnesota or any region west of Minnesota. Good afternoon for those on the East Coast or Europe or wherever else. My name is Melissa Wenzel. I'm one of the newest board members of Build Reuse, a national nonprofit dedicated towards lots of very high and best use of buildings and building materials. We have Josh Hoff, who's also here. He's also been working on these webinars. We are the kind of the co-leads for these for Build Reuse. Josh, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Like Melissa said, my name is Josh Hoff. I am the Community Resilience Coordinator at Rethos. We're a historic preservation nonprofit based out of St. Paul. And through my work, I've had the pleasure of getting to know Jeremy and Melissa both in what they do for reusing building materials here in Minnesota. And it's so great that we can work with Build Reuse to kind of elevate this work and show what can be done across the nation and across the world. So really happy to be here. I've been on the membership and programming committee for Build Reuse since last June, and excited to see what we do next. So this is a really exciting webinar opportunity. If you aren't already familiar with the BRAG opportunities, that's the Build Reuse affinity groups. Please check out the Build Reuse website. They have rotating discussions based off of different levels within organizations. So take a look at what's coming up to see if you want to learn any more. But yeah.
Josh, can you throw that link into chat, the brag list? Great.
Yeah, I will.
And I introduced myself by name, but not by organization. So I work at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. It's our environmental state agency. And I am our state's Built Environment Sustainability Administrator. I've been in this role for almost 5 years and uplift and work with organizations across the state that are focusing on reuse of building materials. I happened to come across a CARE 11 video of Jeremy's, of his activities, and I had to reach out. I am one of those kind of people that when I see good things happen, I want to talk to that person, tell them how I feel about it. So I'm really glad I did. And for almost 2 years, I've known Jeremy and his work. There's a bit of a personal story that came across my virtual deck recently. So a colleague of mine within the built environment wrote, "I'm reaching out with a personal reuse story that I thought you might appreciate. A while ago, I attended a building reuse webinar that I think you hosted where Jeremy Marshik from Lumberstash gave a presentation. Since then, I've kept that name in the back of my mind for when I or someone I know might need his services. Fast forward to last month, and my parents were in the process of repairing their deck and discovered they needed to replace and repair a lot more of the deck than they anticipated. They texted me, both in heartache over how much wood they get rid of, and wondered if I knew any way to recycle it. I gave them Jeremy's contact information, and within a couple of days, he came out to check out the wood. He was able to take all of it with him and assured my dad it would go to good use. This is one of the many instances where I feel so grateful for the job I have and be able to connect with people like you and Jeremy that are helping to make the world a little more circular." Jeremy, did you know that?
Um, I think I remember that.
But
I've
as
been
far as
going
knowing that
100
people
miles
think
an
that
hour. Stuff like that happens almost every day.
yeah, you make a difference every single day. Well, folks, next I'd like to have the person who we're all here for introduce himself. I will also start to throw up put up the slides. If you audience members want to introduce yourself into chat, who you are, where you're from, what you're interested in the built environment, that would be awesome too. So I'm going to mute myself. Go ahead and start talking, and I'll pull up my slides. Your slides, Jeremy.
Cool. Thanks for the time, everybody. I'm thrilled that I was able to start a new fulfilling career for myself. I'm a recovering printer salesperson, and now I have this really enjoyable, fulfilling, flexible job that is my main income, and I save trees every day. I think we'll just maybe dive into the presentation. So I did something at my kids' school for Earth Day, and I started with these couple slides here for the kids, and I think I'm going to start all my presentations this way because I think it's a good question. Who likes trees? The kids, 100% of the kids in class raised their hands. If I could see your hands, I'd suspect they would be raised. I took this photo. It's in the Boundary Waters, one of my favorite places, and the inspiration for Lumberstash. So the next slide, please. There. Well, back one. There it is. And same thing here. Who likes the forest? Everybody raise your hand. This is my girls and I had I think this is 2 summers ago. We had the most wonderful trip to Clearwater Lake in the Boundary Waters. Instead of bringing fishing rods, we brought goggles, and we went to all the cool deep drop-off spots and just jumped in and looked around, and it was wonderful. And that view is one of my favorite views in the world. It's on the border route trail. The lake you're looking there is Mountain Lake. The left shore is Canada. The right shore is Minnesota, and you can see a little different, just a little bit of Clearwater Lake on the right-hand side. Then that photo has become like the main photo on my website and other things because I just think it's so pretty. Next slide, please. So the EPA estimates 12 million tons of lumber is sent to the landfill annually, and that number is growing. If you're around Minneapolis, that's a lot, but if you're around Minneapolis, I use that. It's about 2 million acres, which is 54 times the size of Minneapolis, of healthy forest and habitat. I've come across a few people that say, so what, trees can be regrown, but not fast enough. Our population's growing, everyone's house is getting bigger, where every person is consuming more. And if you don't know managed forests, that's kind of marketing speak for, I think it's more like a tree farm. They lack biodiversity necessary to support our ecosystem. So I think before we start managing all the forests for lumber, we should start pulling the lumber out of stop throwing the lumber away. And this is the conclusion I reach from all this is we need more ways to get this lumber reused. We're not doing nearly enough. Next slide, please. Oh, go back. I would have just mentioned that photo. So that's my driveway. When I was just getting started out, I used to leave lumber on the driveway like that as just advertising, because I was astonished at how much lumber I was finding in dumpsters. That's how I started. And that other dumpster there is like 1 block from my house. As I started this, the opportunities started small and they started getting bigger. And that's typical. There's not a single nail in any of those boards. It was all new. That project was done, and the contractor just threw it all in the dumpster because they didn't want to haul it home or whatever. It was already paid for. The job was done. So I fished it out and hauled it home and found someone who wanted to reuse it. Next slide, please. So just a quick how I got here. Since I was little, I've been a nature-loving tree hugger, and I often dreamed of starting something to help, but it never, the timing was never right. I never followed through. I had a lot of ideas. I didn't do anything about them until just a few years ago. I went to UMD for marketing, 14 years in the rat race. I sold commercial printers. I learned a lot and did well, and the income was pretty good, but it was just not fulfilling. I was sick of it. I quit without a plan, and I was determined to figure something out. I considered doing something with habitat. I love native native flowers and grass, and we have a bunch in our yard, and I really enjoy them. But I'm not an expert at that. I decided I knew sales and marketing, so I thought my path was to just start pulling lumber out of dumpsters and getting it reused, whether I gave it away or sold it. And the more I got into it, the more I realized that it's a huge problem / a huge opportunity. And still, I'm surprised at the amount of valuable waste. The opportunities just keep getting bigger and more amazing. Next, please. So that's how I started. I just started on my bike, biking around town, biking around the neighborhood and telling people what I was doing. The opportunities just kept getting bigger and better. This slide shows that last summer I was the only person a school in southern Minnesota could find that was willing to come remove the gym floor. I did that mostly by myself. Took about 5 days and 5 trips down there. I've deconstructed garages. I've come clean out a lot of people that have garages full of lumber. I found a lot of wood flooring full in dumpsters, and that's how I learned that wood flooring would be a good focus. Fences, that's become another good focus. And through starting the way I did, I learned that I like to call it Lumberstash is too small to fail. I don't have a warehouse or a storefront. I started out with just the tools I had and my bike and my old SUV and a trailer my dad built. And that way I was able to salvage all kinds of stuff. The worst thing that would happen is I'd save some lumber from the landfill and didn't make any money, which wasn't a big deal because I didn't have overhead of a warehouse. I didn't have all that stress. I was planning, I think a couple slides ago, I was planning to show that video, Melissa. There's a little out of order, but I think that might make sense if you want to show the video now. That's a kind of a 50-second summary of how I started and how I got to where I am. Thank you.
When I was 40, I quit my sales job. I needed fulfilling work. I hate seeing good lumber get thrown away, so I started hauling it home. At first, I thought I had to build things with it to make it valuable, but that turned out to be too time-consuming. I got on the news. I decided to sell lumber just the way I found it. I traded lumber to a buddy who made this sweet logo, and I started giving everyone stickers and homemade business cards. The opportunities and piles of lumber kept getting bigger and better. I dressed up as the Menards guy for Halloween, and I built the Lumberstash dumpster sled. I put a sign-up form on the website to make it easier to sell things. The opportunities to save really great stuff from the landfill continue to get more consistent and bigger and better. Several people are helping. This is a really fulfilling, enjoyable gig or career that pays well if you do it from home. Now we just need to make it legal.
Thank you. Thank you. So that, yeah, a little sneak peek. I'm going to touch on that later. It is technically illegal to sell lumber from home. I'm working to change that because I really think this can be a really big piece of the puzzle. Melissa, if you can go back to the slides, please. Okay, so yeah, there, I just started doing this and advertising everywhere. And the opportunities, there's a picture of a local stage. Those are usually used for a few months, and then it's a bunch of brand new lumber that gets thrown away. That's over on the right-hand side. I mentioned fences. They're usually great. it's really fun because the opportunities are different every day. That lower left-hand one was a firefighter said, "Hey, we built this big structure for training and it's in a dumpster over at the fairgrounds. Do you want the lumber?" And it was a bunch of brand new treated 4x4 posts that were like 10 feet long. It's just crazy what happens to lumber. People use it a little while and then throw it away. Next slide, please. So this is an example of something that happened 2 weeks ago. Now that I've been doing this a few years, I have a lot of contacts. There's a good guy at a company called Fence Concepts. And when he replaces a decent fence, he calls me. Excuse me, this was a 600-foot long fence that the pickets were starting to fall off. I guess I don't blame the people for wanting it fixed. It probably could have been fixed, but their association paid to replace the whole thing. And instead of paying to throw this lumber away like 99% of contractors would do, he called me. They had already taken the fence down. They knew they were saving money, so they even knocked the concrete off the posts for me, where you can see the lighter color where the posts were underground, but they're still totally good. Those are 4x6 posts. 20 there was 77 of them. They're $25 new. I posted them to Facebook Marketplace for $8 a piece, and you can see that's I think less than a 24-hour time frame there. I had 17 interested people. In less than 24 hours, I converted that pile of what would have been trash into $610. I had a few hours into it, and really, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. Anyone can do this. There's young people on the job site that took this fence apart that are, they work probably a week to make $610. That's why I think like everyone should be doing this. Next slide, please. So marketing, that's something, when I was a young, dumb guy in college, I thought I was going to sit around on a couch and think of Super Bowl commercials. But I didn't end up doing that, but I do still enjoy like making videos and marketing and whatnot. So in that video, you saw my buddy made this logo, which I think is pretty cool. And I like stickers and I think they're effective. So I give those away. This is really cool. I think for anybody in reuse, I bought a stamp and I just use a ruler and scissors and I cut out boxes. This was a case of Ham's beer. And I used to sell commercial printers. It's like a arms race. Every 4 years, each company comes out with a new printer and they print on thicker paper, they print a little faster. And a big part of what they do is they print business cards. So I'm pretty well versed in what is a cool business card, and people pay a lot of money for thicker, nicer business cards. And this free reused, well, the stamp was like $30. This gets way more attention than the most expensive business card you can buy. So if you're into reuse, I think this is a cool little marketing thing. Everybody flips it over and then it becomes a fun little conversation and you make it out of your favorite boxes or whatever. One of the other things that worked really well for me, early on, I got myself a $12 ticket to the Home and Garden Show, and I walked around, introduced myself to every contractor there with a booth and gave them stickers and business cards. And that actually led to some really good connections. The Fence Concept, Scott, who owns that, I remember meeting him at the show, and that led to several other really good connections too. Also, as I was starting, I just went around to job sites on bike rides and I'd look in the dumpster. Melissa likes to call them roll-offs. which sounds a little nicer because dumpster has a bad connotation. I mean, I get it, but also maybe instead of changing the name, we can teach people that there's good things in dumpsters. Plus, dumpster diving sounds cool. So I don't have a problem with just if it's on the street, I think it's technically legal. In my head, it's the right thing to do. So I was proud to climb in and pull good stuff out. And I even more than once, the contractor would come talk to me and I'd hand him my business card while I was standing inside of their dumpster. And if you're polite, they like it. They don't like to throw the stuff away, but they don't have time to deal with it. And often they probably think it's harder to get rid of than it really is, like that story about those posts. The next thing, if you're trying to start something like this, a Google profile and Google Maps is a really good way to get yourself out there. It's free. The Google profile is a little tricky to deal with, but you can ask someone tech savvy or watch a video on YouTube to figure out how to deal with it. But if anyone around here types in lumber store, I'm the only one within like 5 miles. Or they type in lumber on Google Maps, my garage comes up. Instagram has been good. I just consistently post it. If I get an interesting opportunity, I take 5 to 10 minutes to take a little video and I narrate it. I have an app on my phone to edit them as needed. And I've learned you want to get people to share those so it gets a lot of views. Historical things seem to work well for me. People like salvage, good deals and free things. And a lot of the videos, I'll walk into a house that's going to be demolished and I say, I'm removing this floor. It's going to be for sale soon. I'll put it on the website. And then I walk around and show things that I want to give away for free. And that triggers people to share the video and helps me give away things to keep out of the landfill and also sell them. And I think most people watch those with the sound off. So I think a good tip on Instagram, you can click a button to add captions so people can read without the sound on. And then every time I share to Instagram, I have Facebook connected to that. So it just automatically shares to Facebook. Some of the videos are over 100,000 views and I don't spend that much time making them. Nextdoor, I used to use Nextdoor a little bit more. That works pretty well for local support. And it seems like people really love reuse. So some of the posts I've done on Nextdoor really got a lot of attention and led to a lot of opportunities. Facebook Marketplace works really, really well. I used to do both Craigslist and Facebook and my website to sell things. Some of the worst, ugliest lumber you can give away on Facebook. Every single ad I do, I put a link to my website. So then, if you're giving something away for free, you're saving it from the landfill, which is good. And also you're getting free advertising. And it's led to a lot of web traffic. The low price free items. Facebook Marketplace shows you how many views. And I've had several that get like 3,000 or 5,000 views. And this led to, so I have it's a pretty simple website that I mostly did myself. I had some help with it. I added an email sign-up list, maybe like 1.5 years ago. People can sign up for inventory updates, and I usually send an inventory update about once a week. But the links from Facebook, they go to the website, and then right at the top, they have an option to sign up for inventory updates, and I'm over 750 emails now. So it used to be really exciting when those emails worked. Now it's almost like if I send an email out to sell something and I don't have an email back in 30 minutes from someone to buy it, it's like, oh, bummer, because that's almost becoming the norm. It's working really well. Lumber's expensive and people like reuse, and they like what we're doing. Your reviews are really important. A challenge to Facebook is you get a lot of people that say, is this available? And then they never message back, and you know, they're just typing quick. Sometimes it doesn't seem polite. So I really try to treat people right. And when they are super annoying, I just bite my lip. And that's led to, I have a five-star review for Lumberstash on Google Maps and a bunch of 5-star reviews on Facebook Marketplace. And I think that really pays off. People seem to give me the benefit of the doubt because there's a lot of nice reviews on there. I'm an honest person, and I'm not trying to rip anybody off, and that's what the reviews say, and everybody seems to give me the benefit of the doubt when they see that. And I recommend asking for reviews. They're hard to get. I've done at least a couple thousand transactions, and I have like 30 reviews on Facebook and 30 on Google Maps. So I recommend asking for those. A really fun, that picture is from the Powderhorn Park Art Sled Rally. If you're around Minneapolis, it's always the last Saturday in January at 2 p.m. That was the dumpster sled I made and went down the hill with my daughters. It was a blast. There's a ton of other really great sleds there. It's super fun. That I don't know how much business that led to, but that's one of my favorite marketing things I've done. And I'm going to touch on this later. I have a little asterisk on giving things away. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot. Like, as this business grows, I think making it a gig and selling from home is I think a huge piece of the puzzle to salvaging more lumber. The growth potential doing it that way is astronomical. And you know, as I'm getting more into this, there's getting bigger opportunities. I could eventually try to get a warehouse and try to pay employees enough to keep them happy and still try to make money. It'd be stressful. I don't think that's the right path for what I'm trying to do. But if I added a warehouse, the price would have to go up, which would make things not sell as fast. So the way I think about it, in a way, getting a warehouse would make me need a bigger warehouse. So instead of, you know, when I get a little bit swamped in my little 2.5 car garage, I sell things pretty quick. If I get an opportunity that's too big to take home, I just sell it dirt cheap or I give it away. Because all I'm trying to do is cover my time, and if I save it from the landfill, that's a win, plus it's free advertising. So instead of a warehouse, just give it away. That's kind of my thought on that. Next slide, please. So from just, you know, really knowing nothing about the reuse world, never having a job doing that, just looking in dumpsters around town and giving stuff away, selling stuff away, I learned that a good focus for me is fences, decks, and wood floor. The fences, they rot where they can't dry out. So it's usually right at the ground, and you can see that one in the upper right has some braces because the bottom of the post's rotted. And a standard practice is to truck that whole thing to the landfill, even though 90% of that is good. We take the panels, and they can, if they're good enough, they can be reused as is. If they're a little old and beat up, you can cut them down and reuse the pickets for a shorter fence. The posts that were 8 feet are usually about 5 or 5.5 feet. You cut the bad ends off, and that is great for landscaping or making furniture or anything like that. And if it's cedar, an 8-foot long cedar post is almost $50. So I'm just shocked that more people don't see that as valuable. Like you can earn quick, good money on it instead of paying to throw it away. Decks, same thing. They're usually good. They need to be just need to be. I live in an area west of us is Lake Harriet, and the property value goes up in that direction, and east of us the property value goes down quite a bit. So a deck that's not good enough to be west of me is really great lumber east of me. And a really junky deck makes a really nice chicken coop. Wood floors was another thing. I more than once I found a dumpster full of wood flooring, and it's compact. It was a good addition for me to focus on because it's year round. It's compact. $1,000 worth of wood floor takes up only like 2 by 10 feet in my garage. And Melissa was actually the person that after she heard about me and we ended up having lunch, she said, "Have you heard of a pneumatic denailer?" And I hadn't. And now I have 4. I just actually splurged and got the nicer original one. That is it's a game changer for wood flooring. You can sit comfortably and shoot this gun, and the nails shoot out the other side, and you bundle it, and you can earn good money. I don't need to charge anyone to take out their wood floor. It's sort of hard work, but you get good at it, and it can go pretty fast, and it's fulfilling and flexible and pays well. And I think the main reason a lot of people say, "Oh, that's so hard." I think the main reason people don't remove wood floor to save or to earn a living is because most people only want to do a lot of work is if they have a contract and a guarantee to get paid up front. Where I think I've been helping kind of develop the market a little bit, and definitely learning a lot about the market, and sometimes it takes a little while, but usually not. To me, a pile of wood floor in my garage is almost like money in the bank. It doesn't take long to convert that into money, and then I do the math and I find out I made $40 to $60 an hour for that flexible, fulfilling work that I did.
I have a quick question. Do you sell directly where you don't have to bring this to your garage? People pick it up straight from wherever you're harvesting
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, I do a lot of so that's the other thing. The wood floor. I don't know of anyone else that any other companies that focus on wood flooring and don't charge to remove it. So that fact has got me in with a growing number of developers and homeowners that are doing major renovations or demolitions. So the being willing to do that wood floor gets me into the house, and then I can salvage all kinds of other stuff. But also in those scenarios, that house becomes like I might have a week, I might have 3 weeks in that house, and that becomes my temporary warehouse. I denail it there, I bundle it there, I do the video first thing when I get there and start advertising it right away. And a lot of times I sell it from right there. I have one guy who likes to focus on oak flooring. So all the oak floor that I get, I just pull it up and I don't even remove the nails. He shows up when I tell him to show up, and he buys it from me at a price that works well for me. And then he removes the nails and bundles it and sells it from his, I think he has a storage unit that he rents. So yeah, I do a lot of sales on site, and the demo or renovation houses work really well for that. Next slide, please. So this is a long, put this slide together. It's not a great slide, obviously. But I was doing something for the Minnesota Tool people who were interested in potentially salvaging lumber for themselves or for income. And number one, I think you need an appreciation for reuse in the environment. And if you're on this call, I bet that's the case. So that makes the work enjoyable. So like I mentioned earlier, the worst case is you save something from the landfill and you had to give it away. And with that, if you have a website and you're trying to build something bigger, that comes giving things away brings free advertising. I mentioned Facebook Marketplace works really well. And the little asterisk there, if you're selling on Facebook Marketplace, it's a bot. There's people that I think it's a program someone writes and it takes over accounts. It has usually has a picture. It might be a nice looking old lady and it says, oh, how much for this item? Or I want to buy this item. I'm busy right now. Can I call you later? And if they're asking for your phone number right away, that's probably a bot that's just trying to gather information. So you ignore those. But with a couple messages back and forth, it's pretty easy to determine if it's a real person. You ask them what they're going to use it for or something like that. You can determine it's a real person. And then when they show up, I have found that the people that are willing to come pick up ugly old lumber and work to build it into something are some of the best people around. So they're really I don't think you should be afraid of Facebook Marketplace. Watch out for the bots, but the rest of the people that are looking for cheap and free reused lumber are great people. You need basic tools. Big pry bar, little pry bar, hammer, skill saw, screw gun, stuff that everybody has. If you're going to get into flooring, the less expensive denailers are like 80 bucks. The really nice one that seems to be more reliable and has a little more power is like 270 bucks. Angle grinder works really well on decks when you have rusty old screws that are hard to get out on the treated frame. You can just use an angle grinder to zip them off flush, and that lumber is good enough to go become a new deck or whatever you want to use it for. One of those large magnets is key for picking up loose nails and screws. Transportation, just walking, or as I started out on my cargo bike with my trailer, it's a fulfilling gig. You could make a couple $100 a month that way. I had a little SUV and a little trailer that was like 4x6 or something like that. With the SUV and the 4x6 trailer, and a little bit of experience, I was starting to make real income, like full-time job type of income. Now I got myself a used pickup truck with the 8-foot bed, and I put a big lumber rack on it, which enables me to rent a really big trailer as needed, and the sky's the limit. And then you need internet access. I have the website, which is really helping me because I'm trying to do something bigger, which I'm hoping to help enable other people to do this through the Lumberstash website. But if you're just wanted to do this on your own, you need internet access and Facebook. I don't bother with Craigslist or Nextdoor too often anymore because Facebook was getting me probably 18 or 19 sales out of 20. And then I mentioned the videos on Instagram. A few times recently, I'll post the video and someone will reply to the video saying, I haven't even set a price yet. And they said, I want to buy that beadboard, how much, or whatever. And I found customers that way. Yeah, I think I touched on the rest of that. Yeah, as of lately, about 75% of my sales are coming direct from the website, which is exciting. This was just something to website I pieced together, and now it's like really working. I'm personally uh without impacting my neighbors very much. I sell some from the site, I sell a lot from my garage. I'm uh probably I'm consistently doing over a ton of lumber a week. Often I'll have like 10-ton weeks sometimes. Next slide, please. So, why a gig and why from home? I was in the newspaper recently because I'm trying to make it legal and fighting the city. And a key thing I didn't say to the reporter was that the one anonymous complaint I received last spring was for leaving lumber on my driveway, because that was sort of a marketing thing I was doing. I wanted everyone to see like everything here was in a dumpster, people. We need to fix this. And I'm on sort of a busy street. So it was great for marketing. And 99.9% of the neighbors liked it, and they would come help themselves and Venmo me when they took stuff, and they'd save a trip to the lumber store and come get a 2x4 or two. And I didn't have to be around to help them, which was slick because it's not going to make sense for me to spend time to meet someone and sell a $5 2x4 or a $1 2x4. So that was really slick and helpful to people, but that got one anonymous complaint, and I don't do that anymore. I haven't received any other complaints, and I have a ton of neighbors that really like what I'm doing. I have a petition with a lot of support. I'll mention that later. So the way I'm doing it, prices are lower. I only need to cover my time. This means I can salvage things that most would not bother with, and I sell it faster, which enables me to salvage more. The pay is better. If you have a truck or a trailer or a cargo bike or a bike trailer and some space, you can do this. Looks like they have a typo there. It's a fulfilling way to earn extra income. You could do one. I'm starting to get more opportunities than I can handle. I have 3 other people who are like official Lumberstash locations and have access to post on the Lumberstash website. And they have regular jobs. They do, they'll do one fence a week or something like that, and earn a couple hundred extra bucks a week or a month. And you do the math on the hourly, it's $50 to $100 an hour when you go pick up a fence, haul it home, set it on your driveway, post it for sale, and then meet somebody and load it on their trailer or whatever. The pay is really good, and you do it on your time. There's no manager telling you what to do. I live here. This is a big one that I don't think a lot of people understand. So I have 3 young kids. 2 of them are in grade school. One of them's going in a different direction to a nanny share or whatever each day. So in the evenings or weekends or whenever, I can meet a customer here. And big reason, my wife's a full-time nurse, so I have the flexible schedule. It helps us save on childcare, and lets me spend more time with my kids. So the kids can be bouncing on the trampoline or sleeping or whatever, and I can spend 10 minutes to meet a customer and load up 300 square feet of wood floor out of my garage, and they're happy and off on their way, and I'm back to being at-home dad. If I had a warehouse, even if I could afford a warehouse near my house, it would take so much more time. I'd have to drag the kids over there or whatever. It's just really convenient to do it this way. All salvage is good. The more the better. I don't want to put anybody down, but this model is the only way I know of that can thrive without the need to focus on high-end, high-profit vintage things or rely heavily on grants. So I'm earning a pretty good wage for myself, recycling ugly old fences and decks that are full of nails that I don't know of any salvage companies that would even allow you to drop that stuff off. And I'm earning a living keeping that stuff out of the landfill.
There,
Uh,
there was one question that did come up fairly recently that I want to make sure we address. And I've been trying to figure out how many more slides we have because we have about 12 minutes left. But
yeah,
Pat Smith from Tennessee asked, how expensive is the liability insurance?
I have I think it's a $2 million umbrella. I told my insurance agent I want the same type of insurance that a typical contractor would have, and I'm paying $45 a month for that. And that was something I got early on. I was kind of slick. I thought I was kind of slick because I was just, a dumpster diver on a bike. And I thought I got insurance right away to help make contractors feel comfortable having me on the job site. Because that was one thing I identified early on. That was, a potential concern. But yeah, I think I have the same insurance that a typical handy person or whatever has. I pay $45 a month for that. It's low impact to the neighborhood, and whether it's good for everybody. Saving lumber from the landfill is literally good for everybody. And my evolved business model, like I touched on, I'm not doing onesie twosie 2x4 type sales anymore. It is fun. I occasionally help neighbors out with stuff like that, but I learned to focus on more. I learned to find and focus on more larger, consistent piles of lumber. So it's far fewer sales. The average sale is worth much more. So it's pretty low traffic. I have, I mentioned I sell a lot from the demo houses and I deliver a lot direct. I can pre-sell a fence and deliver it direct. So I maybe have 5 customers come here a week, and I like help them back into my driveway so they're not in the way, and I load them up and they're off on their way. Another good reason, we're using existing space. We don't need to build more space or heat and cool additional space to get this stuff recycled. We're just using what we already have and what we have anyway, and we're getting a lot of lumber reused. So this leads to commercial versus residential space. I learned that this is illegal when I got the one anonymous complaint last spring. I think that's probably pretty standard in any city. You do need, you can't, and it makes sense to protect the neighbors. There's a lot of rules you need to have that you can't do from a house. I understand, but I think there should be an exception to this. The people at Minneapolis, inspector has made it clear that they're not out to get me. It's a complaint-based system. And since I got the one complaint, I stopped leaving lumber on the driveway. They're not actively trying to stop me. I already mentioned the stuff about I'm focusing on fewer loads. I started, to make this legal, I started by contacting my city council person who didn't reply. So then I emailed the Star Tribune and got an article. Then the city council person scheduled a meeting with me. Then they set up a meeting between me and the head of zoning. And I just pasted I asked him to, he was very positive on the call and said he likes what we're doing and maybe there is a way to make it legal. And I asked him to put something in writing for me so that I can then take that to city council and try to figure this out. And I just pasted his email right there. I'd like to start off to say that I appreciate your efforts to keep perfectly good lumber from the landfill. Yada, yada, yada. I think that thing I highlighted is a key. It's difficult to differentiate between your use and other forms of recycling and scrapping, which are not compatible with residential districts and therefore not allowed. So he's sort of saying that this could be compatible, but I need to differentiate it from other forms of scrapping, which is mostly like metal scrapping, which is an easy, big differentiator to me because there's several large, successful metal scrapping businesses that readily accept piles of metal. You just haul it there and dump it, and it's easy to get reused. If I'm not doing this, there's nobody that's going to keep this lumber out of the landfill. So that's the differentiator that I think is the key. I'm up to 2,630 signatures on the petition. I owe those people an update. I'm planning to email them, and Josh has been really helpful in strategizing. He's much better about navigating political type things. And I think at some point I might send a message and lean on those people and ask for their support to email a few key politicians to get some motivation to make this legal. And I'm all for. I really like my neighbors. They like what we're doing. I don't want to. I don't think it should be completely unregulated, but I'm living proof that you can save 1 to 10 tons of lumber a week operating mostly out of your house. And I'm aware of 2,630 people that like what I'm doing, and one anonymous person was annoyed last spring by the lumber on my driveway that I don't do anymore. So I think that's a pretty good track record. And I think we need more people doing this.
I have another couple of questions for you. This is the last slide, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Are you willing to share how many hours you spend on this and how much money you make? You mentioned a good salary.
Yeah. So that's my wife does get upset with me because I'm on my phone a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is responding to Facebook ads and doing work stuff. If you add it all up, it might be 40 or I don't know, 40-ish hours a week. But the flexible part is great. My kids' school doesn't start till 9:30. I often am walking them up to school. My youngest is 3, and we call it Monday Fun Day. Last year I was taking him to my parents a lot on Mondays because I was like stressed out and really trying to make it go. But now things are consistent enough and I'm confident enough that my schedule is going to fill up that I'm back to doing Monday Fun Day, where I just hang out with him on Mondays. And then I'll be making dinner and run out and meet a customer and load their thing up for 10 minutes. So it does probably add up to 40 hours a week, plus or minus. But I'm earning a good living. Like I think I'm probably in the neighborhood of 6 figures, maybe. Some of the gigs I do, it's exciting and more consistent, where I can earn $100 an hour. But that doesn't count the phone time and stuff like that. But if you just, the way I keep track of that, because if someone wanted to jump on board and take advantage of the growing number of opportunities that I can't manage, if you go pick up a fence, haul it home, post it on Facebook or lumberstash.com, meet the buyer, sell it, and you count everything that was involved with that fence and selling that fence, it's over $100 an hour. I think my time, because I'm trying to build something bigger that catches on and helps other people do it, I'm spending a lot more like administrative time. Steve, one of the Lumberstash people that is getting more and more active. I think before long, this will be a full-time thing for him. He's a handy person and he has the app. He's better about keeping track of his hours than I am. Just recently, there's a 1920 house that was going to get demolished. There's, as usual, there was no takers. It was beautiful white oak floor, no takers because no one was paying to take it out and there was no guarantee on selling it. Steve did the entire thing himself. He tracked drive time on his app and pulling it out. My dog wants some pets here. He counted drive time, pulling it out, denailing it, bundling it, meeting the customer, and it was like $60 an hour for fulfilling flexible work. You know, in these houses, there's no one around. You can go work late in the evening or, you know, part days or whatever works for you. So that was maybe a long version of an answer that hopefully I answered. Any other questions?
Does anybody else have questions? Feel free to put it in chat, or I know we have just 1 minute left and you were very thorough with information, but feel free to take yourself off of mute if you want. We'll share Jeremy's contact information, or feel free to go ahead and do that yourself, Jeremy, in the chat.
Will this webinar be available to share?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Even for those that didn't register. Yeah, absolutely.
Send that out to us. Okay.
Yep. I'll send it out first, probably to the people that registered, and then, you know, over time we'll get it sent out like in the newsletter, on LinkedIn, Facebook. So stay tuned for future webinars being hosted by Builder Use. We have actually several ideas in the works, so lots of great opportunities galore. Jeremy, thank you so much for all that you shared with us today. I know that you've inspired me, and it's really easy to support an organization that's doing what they're doing. And as you know, I find this work to be very scalable, so that people could do this any town, any city, to whatever degree that they want to. I think there's great opportunities. So I'm glad we were able to hear from you today, and thanks everybody.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have a great day. Thank you.